personal basis. The patients would confide in them, tell them their detailed history, and many times it's certain this person has some kind of strange condition in which they would just have these sometimes affective illness states with another kind of medication, sometimes lithium, which has some other risks down the road, that they could sometimes be maintained on small doses, not no 20 milligrams of Haldol or 30, 40 of Prolixin, sometimes just 1 or 2 milligrams of Prolixin. And when they're in crisis, they would be seen to talk it out, not medicate it out, talk the stuff out and sort through the conflicts. And by that process, I have patients right now that I can tell right when they get ready to go into their psychotic phase, their sleep patterns unravel first. And so when they stop sleeping and I say, oh, what's happening, Miss Jones? Oh, nothing's going on. That means let's talk about it, Miss Jones, because you many times are not aware of when things are really troubling you. And I take a detailed history and say, oh, and let's get your dreams. The dream content will many times show what the nature of the conflict might be. And I also talk to other family members. Oh, yeah, that's Mama doing her thing again, or that's Dad doing his thing again. So we get this kind of history and catch it in the bud before it becomes full-blown. And also the medication levels are usually reduced. But many times a person, if they need to be on medication, they may not have to stay on it until they can resolve. Sometimes medication can be a lifelong thing, or many years, but it must be a dose that it does not remain the same dose. It has to be titrated up and down, dependent upon need. But again, the third-party payers many times put a cap on how many times a patient can come see the therapist, so they can't see the frequent monitoring. And the therapist has to bite the bullet, and that whole story, and deal. But let's look to the future. What else is on the horizon in the way of treatments? What is on the horizon in the way of treatment is using light itself to treat affective illness states and depressional states and psychotic states, and using portable handheld magnetic field generators to treat certain affective illness states, postpartum depression, and certain psychotic conditions, and using mineral replacement, particular vitamin E as a mineral replacement in the treatment of certain what we call high oxidant or high free radical content type psychotic states. So those are some of the things that are right around the corner that will probably be employed. More so, of course, the light treatment of depression is currently in use even at present. So those are some of the, are you a practitioner, my brother?
No.
Yes, a practitioner involved in the same struggle. So these are the kind of struggles we go through. But I should say this: what I've usually found is that it is critical to get a life history of the patient, usually from other family members as well, because they're carrying the same issues generation from generation to generation, the same stuff over, and might be a little bit surface dress on how it is managed. Same issues being passed through multi-generations. Multi-generations. Other questions, sisters and brothers?
I was interested in what you were saying about the kinetic velocity of light and George Washington Carver.
Yes.
Study that. Based on that, is there any particular kind of sleep pattern you can recommend to take advantage of that?
Sleep pattern. Well, first, sleep needs tend to decrease with age. As you get older, the melatonin level automatically decreases with time. In the uninitiated, in the initiated, I think it's just the reverse, the increase, because of some very profound things involving a thing called the solar ray moving through the central canal and energizing the chakras or the different granules that are along the spine. But back to the point. The point is that the sleep patterns, I would encourage a person to try to wake up around 4 a.m. and get, some people need 6, 8, some people need 5, 4. And usually trying to wake up around 4 so you can get that hour or hour and a half right with daybreak. That's such a profound time. Usually and again, I think each person has to evaluate themselves. Some of us are morning people, some of us are nighttime people. And to ask a night owl to get up at that time of morning would not be the way to go, because they just move like concrete in the morning. Whereas a morning person moves like concrete at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So you have to see when is your phase of activity the greatest and when is your mind the most fluid. But for the morning person, that morning time of getting up at 4 a.m. is critical. And it's a time in which a person has a very fluid flow of thoughts and creative ideas. Yes?
What relationship does melanin have with DNA? Is melanin more fine and a finer relative than the DNA?
A very important question. And all questions are important. What relationship does melanin have with DNA? DNA is, again, the genetic blueprint that orders cells how to do their thing. And melanin has been indeed found in the DNA of mitochondria. DNA is present in the nucleus of a cell. It's also present in mitochondria in cell cytoplasm. And it is thought by some that in the early forms of living systems, that melanin was present even before there was DNA. DNA is a later development. Nonetheless, that we can look upon the cell, we have a chemical approach to life, a chemical theory of life. You can also look upon it in terms of an energetic approach to life, that is looking at the movement of energy from one system to the next in discrete quanta. Using that approach, melanin is a very powerful electron sink. It soaks up energy, and it can release energy in very discrete amounts. And it is in this discrete release that you have informational value, just like you have a computer chip storing energy in discrete amounts, releasing discrete amounts. So that melanin is indeed seen to have a very active relationship with DNA by being able to, in some way, modulate how much energy can be released into the DNA, at least in the mitochondria, and then they may play a similar role in terms of the nucleus. Should also mention that in the mitochondria, in the pineal gland, the mitochondria in the pineal gland are unique. They take up calcium, and the mitochondria is the energy storehouse. It's like a battery inside of the cell. It takes up calcium and uses calcium as a fuel. It doesn't even use ATP, the common gas of the cell, the common fuel. It uses calcium as a fuel-producing agent. And that's unique. I don't even know what that's all about. So I guess in summary to your question, that the DNA is thought by some to be a later development, in that the earlier system that was able to capture sunlight, hold on to sunlight, and generate other chemical species was probably melanin itself in the early system. Now, as to how melanin got there, some believe that melanin, which again, carbon, the key element that makes up melanin, is formed in the core of a star in the course of its stellar lifetime. That as the nuclei that make up the atoms that make up the fuel from the sun are compacted upon each other, more complex atoms are formed, and it reaches a phase in which the outer phase is blown off. And so this carbon core is thrown into space as carbon molecules, or individual carbon atoms, and then coalesce in the gas clouds. The interstellar gas clouds to form complex carbon-containing molecules, which later, by cometary movement, are then filtered down upon the planetary surface or impacts from meteorites or craters. So there's a theory of the impregnation, of the ongoing impregnation of the surface of a planet by carbonaceous material that had an interstellar gas cloud origin. So all I think is tied into your question. So it raises a lot of other questions as well.